Hey there, thank you for tuning into The Paradox, a podcast where I connect with people around the world to talk about global paradoxes and their possible solutions. The Paradox has a new episode every Friday, so if you want to stay up to date, I would kindly ask you to subscribe to the channel. And for now, enjoy this episode. My guest on the podcast this week is Nagma. She is from India, and I know her from social media and from Fat, who I did a podcast with recently as well. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Nagma, but most people know me as That Maluchik. That's my creator username. I currently live in India. I can't say I grew up here because I did my schooling entirely in the UAE. But yeah, India is definitely home. I now create content from here, and yeah, that's about it, I guess.
So give me some background because you said UAE. So how does that correlate with each other? So you're Indian. Malu is like that's what you call like the region, the
So
language,
Malu is short for Malayali. Malayalis are people who come
right?
from Kerala. So
Oh,
yeah,
okay. So Malu is like a shortcut for Malayalam. Okay,
yeah,
got it.
Malayali.
So Malayali.
Yeah,
So
Malayalam is the language.
Malayalam is the
Malayali is the word.
language.
Yeah.
Ah, okay, got it. So tell me a little bit about your background and childhood and how that all like resonates with each other.
Okay, so I was born here in Chennai, that's in India, South India, but I grew up entirely in Sharjah, which is a city in the UAE. I did my schooling like kindergarten to grade 12, all in one school, all in Sharjah. So I kind of grew up there, but I would say I really grew when I came back to India for my college, and I've been here ever since. I did my degree here in media, and
How
yeah,
old were
I
you when you went back
went back where to India.
to India? Yeah.
I think I was 18. Yeah, it was right after I turned 18.
Oh, that's quite a determining age, 18.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. So yeah, I've been here for that's I'm 27 now, so that's like almost 10 years. Damn.
That is. So I'm 26 right now, and I feel like for our generation, I don't know if you experience the same thing, but I am starting to like literally like Gen Z. They are starting to call me sir and stuff, and I'm like, when did this happen? Like, I always thought like, oh, I'm like part of the cool kids and blah, blah. And now I'm like, they call me like formal things, and I'm like, what? Or they say like, so there was this rapper that came to Amsterdam the other day, and it was apparently there was like havoc, and there was like he literally had to leave again because it was so like hectic, and I literally was like, who is this rapper? You know, like I literally didn't know, so it kind of was like, am I like fear of missing out? Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. FOMO.
do you have that as well?
FOMO, yeah. Yeah, all the time.
You told me you grew up in Sharjah, or at least like you lived there for a pretty long time. What did you study, and what was like your ambition as a child?
Damn. So yeah, I mean, it's just I guess it's natural for a kid to keep changing ambitions. Like at least I was one of those kids. I I knew for I think when I was a when I was really small and when I saw movies for the first time, I just know it that that's the first thing I wanted to be. Like when I saw an act, a movie, I thought that's what I want to do. I want to be an actress. I'm pretty sure that's the first thing I actually like wanted to do. But obviously, you grow up desi, you grow up in a conservative household, and you start to learn that that's not really it can't be an option. So over the years, obviously it changed many times. I knew that all the kids were saying doctor and lawyer, so I did not want to do that or be that. So I thought up something that nobody had said before, and I was like, oh, I want to be an interior designer. When really I didn't know anything to do about interior designing. I would like create doll houses or whatever. But then it changed into like a fashion designer. Yeah, no, I think I like fashion more. And then I thought, you know what, no, I think I like to make videos because I saw my older brother do it. He studied media as well when he went to college. So I was like, yeah, that's what I want to do. So I actually took up that course in college. I studied visual communication, and but even then, like, when you're getting, college is like a whole different thing, right? You really start to like learn more about yourself then, and it's a time when you get to explore a lot more and try different things. So you can, I don't know how people would expect kids to just know what you want to do with your life by the time you're done with school, even by the time you're done with college. But at that point,
And I think it's also difficult because even in school and after school, as you said, like for example, you want to be in movies when you were younger. I feel like a lot of people, because music and films are such a big influence on us when we grow up, we have these ambitions, but it is in the culture, right, to not to do those kind of things because
yeah.
it's either your pride, it's either it's not going to give you money. You know what I mean? Like, so I feel like if from a young age that already is discouraged, you're probably not going to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I sort of like taught myself not to want that, even though, deep down inside, I think it's who I'm meant to be. But
Especially if you
obviously,
grow up with Bollywood and stuff, or like Indian cinema in general. Like, I mean, like there, it's so like idealistic and beautiful and whatever, you know. So it's difficult not to want to be part of that.
yeah. Yeah, no, but I think I always kind of feared the film industry, I think. But I guess that's also to do with the influences of our culture and our parents and everything, and them telling us,
Mm.
oh no, the film industry is a bad place, bad things happen there, or stuff like that. So I always kind of had this fear of that industry, and I sort of like told myself, no, I do not want to be a part of something like that.
You told me that you started with a course. So how long was the course? You said visual storytelling.
3 years. It was media
Oh,
and
3 years.
communication. It was visual communication. That's what it was called.
Visual communication. Yeah.
So it basically included like filmmaking and photography, and the 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 science behind it, or whatever. So yeah.
What do you think like that course did for you personally in regards to your maybe already like love for, let's say, film?
To be honest, for a lot of different reasons, my time in college wasn't the best. So I can't really say I learned much, or that it did much for my love of filmmaking or whatever. I think it sort of made me kind of hate it for a bit, just because of how things were taught, or how anything was not taught, you know like and immediately after, I got into short form filmmaking, like short video creation, and that has nothing to do with what I learned. Like, it's completely new. Videos are vertical. The way it's edited, everything is different from when I started doing it. So yeah, I'd say like I didn't really learn much, but obviously I wouldn't trade those experiences, because it did teach me what I didn't want. So there's
Right.
that.
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine because I feel like conventional filmmaking is like the complete opposite of the content that we create for, like, let's say, Instagram or TikTok or whatever. And yeah, let's talk about that. So people might know you as that Malu chick. How did that happen? Where did the idea come from, and how long have you been like busy with creating content? Where does your inspiration come from as well? Because I find you really funny, and I want to know like where does that come from?
Damn, I'm so honored that you say that. Just backtracking to what you said, it's saying that filmmaking is completely like opposite to actually what we do now in content creation. It's not necessarily opposite. I think there's a lot of similarities, because it's kind of like, you are kind of creating a film, but all by yourself. You are the camera
Hmm.
person, you're the talent, you're the editor, you're the director, you're everything. So it's kind of like harder, but it seems small scale. But I wouldn't say harder, but it's like it's difficult, because you're all doing all of those roles, you're playing all those roles just by yourself, right? So it does
Right.
have
Yeah. Yeah.
like a lot of similarities, like setup, pre-production, production, post-production, all of that stuff is included. It's just like in a different like way, I guess. But yeah,
Hmm.
to come back to your question, that Malichik just sort of like happened out of nowhere. Like, it wasn't planned or anything. I don't know if you know about Dubsmash. Have you heard of Dubsmash?
No, I don't think so.
So basically, that was sort of a popular thing back then. People would basically lip sync audios from famous movies or famous, dialogues, famous music videos, stuff like that. So it would be short bites of audio that people would lip sync and, sort of act out, make it funny, whatever. You remember
Yeah,
Vine?
yeah. I've seen them. I've seen a
Yeah.
lot of like the ones for like Deodas and stuff like Sanjay Leela Bhansali films. But I'm not sure if that's the same thing, but I
Yeah,
think so.
yeah. I'm sure you have. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
I'm sure people have done
Yeah,
their
some of them are like pretty cringy as well. Like I've seen some.
Okay, well, that's kind of where I started. Like, we came across this thing called Dubsmash, and I really enjoyed it. And I never really showed it anywhere. Like, I didn't post it online or anything. But my family used to like watch them, and they were like, "Damn, girl, you're really good at this stuff." And I was like, I don't know.
That's the
I don't know if
first
I can fully
supporters.
believe them. Yeah, it's suspicious because they always sort of what do you say, demotivate you from going into the arts or doing anything, in the
But
entertainment.
once they see that you're funny, or once you become successful, or they see something, they're like, oh,
Hang
maybe
on,
she's
yeah.
actually like good in it. Oh, maybe this actually is something. Hmm.
Yeah,
This is
but to
literally
be
story
honest,
of my life.
yeah, same. But to be honest, I don't think my family actually believed that I would dare get into this field, like actually. So they were like, "Oh, it's cute, it's fun, it's something she's doing in the comfort of her home, in the safety of our company, and stuff like that." So they were like, "Oh yeah, it's funny, it's cute, whatever." Fast forward to like when I'm in college, and um, you know, I'd come across this app called Musically. Yeah, that's actually where it started. So before that, Instagram was just, how it is for everyone in the beginning. It was just like a place to share whatever, connect with friends and stuff, right? And I never actually shared anything to do with my talent. Like I used to dance in college. I used to, participate in a lot of things, but I never actually posted about it. Then I come across this app called Musically, which is now TikTok.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's
Musically is kind of where it started for like for a lot of like people.
yeah. Musically is where it started for a lot of. So like till then, obviously, I'm watching YouTubers and stuff. I'm seeing content creation is actually a thing. It can be a career, but I never dared to dream in that direction because I didn't think it was possible, right? So Musically
Yeah,
happens, and it's just like 15-second videos inside in your palm. Like I used to. I remember I used to regret not getting into Vines. You remember Vines, right?
yeah, yeah. I was on Vine as well, but I actually really liked Vine. Like I liked the way that
Mhm.
Vine worked, and
Yeah.
I found that you can actually make like really funny and
In
fun
six
content with it in
seconds, and
general.
it's so crazy that people used to be
Yeah.
fit whole narration, like narratives, in just 6 seconds.
Do you know like what is her name? Princess Lauren? Do you know her from Vine? Princess Lauren. She was from America, but she was really fun, and she was really good at it as well.
Oh yeah.
Like she became really, really big on Vine. I think she was one of the biggest ones of America.
Oh damn.
But yeah, 6 seconds. It's crazy,
Yeah.
and that's also it's funny because there was this whole study where they talked about like people's how do you call that, like interest span or how long they can like remain focused on something, and it was literally 3 seconds. So I actually found Vine like pretty funny because that's actually how long people can stay focused on something.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember when Vine was blowing up, and like once it sort of died down, I used to regret, like, damn, why didn't I get into Vines? Because I also saw like a lot of my favorite YouTubers at that point, they started with
Hmm.
Vine. So I
Yeah,
don't know
yeah,
if you've heard of Liza Koshy. She was like my biggest, like my
yeah, yeah. Of course.
yeah. So Liza Koshy was like my idol at that point, and I was like, I want to be her, And I used to think, damn, why didn't I do Vine? I could have become a YouTube. It would have like evolved into me going into YouTube and stuff. And yeah, so I was in that sort of phase when I discovered Musically, and Musically was that again, like, but sort of like better because it had more features and it just made everything easier. So it was like things. Edits, like types of edits that I used to think that I can't do because I don't know how to edit stuff that way. Musically sort of just had it with like a push of a button, and you would like it would just be, in your video. So I was like, damn, that's so cool. So I started off with Musically, but even then, like I never really thought much of it. So at that point, Musically had this thing where it would feature like really good videos, or whatever they thought was really good. So
Like a trending popular page kind of thing.
exactly. So it would have like
Hmm.
a featured sticker on it, and that would be like seen by all the users on the app.
Okay. Got it.
So I remember one day, like I had just made like maybe 3 or 4 videos, and like just my fifth video, I make it, I post it, and I go to sleep, whatever. Next morning, I wake up with like dozens of notifications, and it turns out that my video got featured. So then, like, people started finding me on Instagram as well, and like my timeline is just like up and down, up and down, up and down, because I
So let me ask you something. The first time that this happened to you, so let's say you went viral, what happened? Like, how did it feel for you?
it was crazy. Like I was like, actually, my first thought was I was scared. I was like, oh my god, what if my family finds out?
Right.
That's like the first
That's
thought.
like the South Asian mindset always first.
Exactly.
Right.
I was like, the first thing was like, oh shit. And then I was trying to like process it, and I slowly kind of like ease it into my family. I'm like, hey, guess what? Like
So
200,000 people saw
this
my
is so
video.
relatable. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're like, whoa. So even they couldn't process it because they don't know what Musically is at that point. So they'll say, okay, what does it mean to be viral in Musically? What does it mean anything? Does anyone even know about Musically? So it was that sort of thing. But yeah, that's it. Just obviously it just happened overnight. It just happened out of the blue. And yeah, and then just when I went viral, I got grounded, and I had to stop everything.
Why? What happened?
My life was just like going downhill at that point. That's all I can say. And I was just going through the worst of it. Like my dark ages started then. And
Yeah, I feel like
yeah,
it's always these contrasts. Like I feel like when good things happen, somehow all that's like when the worst things happen or something. I don't know. Like it's not like one straight line. It's always like this, and it just clashes somewhere in the middle.
you're right. You're right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I was interested in knowing because I feel like in a lot of ways what we do is the same thing. Like I'm a film director. You create content, and what we do initially is the same thing. We have to make something from nothing. Like I sometimes also don't realize that sometimes people say that to me. Like it's actually pretty, um, it's actually pretty difficult to come up with something from nothing, and a lot of people can actually not do that by themselves. But I feel like for creative people or content creators, it's like a natural process. What is your process like? Like how do you come up with new ideas?
Just to sort of like um backtrack to the time where I went through like a really dark phase in my life. At that point, I was so demotivated, right? I sort of like lost the will to do anything. Like I lost my passion. I just didn't want to do anything anymore. And it was really hard to come out of that. So when I realized that I want to do, content creation as a living, I was sort of battling with that as well. I was like my brain doesn't work the same anymore. Like I'm not able to. I thought that I couldn't think of anything anymore, and I used to keep that's another thing with social media. You always trying to keep up. It's so fast paced. Everything's changing all the
Yeah,
time.
definitely.
Trends are like
Yeah.
coming and going in like in a flash. So I felt like
Yeah. There's like a very constant like pressure to always be better, be better, be better.
yeah,
Yeah. That's
exactly.
very demanding, like very mentally and physically demanding.
Yeah, and exhausting. So it's like
And you
you
also
have
know
to.
that if you don't do it, someone else can do it tomorrow or that same day, and then you lost your opportunity. So,
Exactly, exactly. So I was like
yeah.
constantly battling with all these things. Like there were all these things that I wanted to do, but I couldn't because I was not active at that point. And so I was sort of living in the past, sort of thing. Then I started realizing like there's actually, I used to think that I have to wait for something to inspire me. Like no, nothing has inspired me yet. Like I have to wait for that eureka moment, but it's actually not. I realized that there's kind of like you can find content in kind of anything actually in my
It
daily
doesn't
life.
work like that. Like you have to literally search it from within. Like because the inspiration is like somewhere in there. You already know it unconsciously, but you just have to find a way to sort of I don't know, like trigger it and just like ignite it.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, like the cliche saying goes, once I sort of made that decision, then it started, like, clicking. Like, I started finding inspiration in everything, like even my daily lives, my family, my like what do you say, immediate circle, my environment. So that's I started to do that, and obviously it worked out.
So they actually say like about storytellers is that two things that they say is like one, the best storytellers are basically people who are able to tell what they understand in the best way possible in an understandable way. So that's one, and whatever you know, that is obviously what you can talk the best about because you are an expert in your life about your life. And then two is that I think I mentioned it is in another podcast as well. This applies to film directors, but I also feel like this applies to content creators in general. Our job is to basically observe people, reflect, and give them an understanding and show them what they look like, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense.
Do you get that? Like,
Yeah,
and that's in a sense what we do. Like, we observe the world and we put a mirror for other people to see how they live in the world.
true.
But it's difficult to do that because there's two things I think that are a big struggle. One is make it in an understandable way that isn't too complicated because I feel like creative people and content creators in general, they have very complex minds and the way that they think is complex and layered, but you have to find a way to make it understandable for everyone. And then two, you have to find your niche, but also understand how you can sort of diversify in your niche because let's say there's like one topic that you're very good at or you're a specialist at some point the topic is going to run out, like it's there isn't more information on it, so you sort of have to be like flexible, like moldable to sort of like diversify. So what do you think of that? Like, do you think that's the case for content creation?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think you can actually succeed faster in a way if you have a niche because it's easier to tap into one solid, existing market and rather than like tap into a lot of different things at the same time. But yeah, I definitely agree with that. But I don't think I have a niche because I don't want to be limited by that. Like you said, like because at some point, what more can you do with that one thing,
It's going to run
that
out, yeah.
one topic? So I didn't want to be limited by that. So I actually do try to like tap into like do a lot of different things at the same time, like comedy and dance and maybe a little bit of fashion, just sort of like mix it all together. And it definitely is harder to, you know, grow really fast that way. But that's just like the path I've chosen. And I'm okay with that because I don't want to be, inside one little box. So, yeah.
So I was recently looking on your Instagram, and then I saw that there was this video that went really, really viral. How many views did it get?
It
You
has,
probably know which video I'm talking about.
yeah, 30 million views.
30 million. I think like for Instagram that's like a lot.
Yeah.
Um, and what I want to ask you is, I recently had a moment where my movie that was on Amazon Prime, it got in the news and in the media, and it basically like instantly like sparked like this whole media frenzy because um, I will explain this like further in maybe another podcast because it goes like very in depth. But basically, what the idea is that the neighborhood that I'm from, it is labeled as the worst neighborhood of the Netherlands. Like it's the ghetto. It's like you don't want to live there. And then I basically out of nothing came there like, hey, blah blah. I made a film and it's on Amazon Prime. So that sparked the interest. But what that also does is um, people who create content or filmmakers, content creators, we have to really like exploit our emotions to get like a specific emotion or a specific dialogue or whatever out of our consciousness, and it's super mentally exhausting. And then when something like this happens, you get like on this high, like it is like an addiction. You get on this high and everyone wants to work with you, and you get these emails and blah blah, and it's constant. And the moment it starts to slow down, so let's say the first week it's like a super high, and then the second week it gets less and you're like, oh, why am I not getting this email and this email? And then the third week it's less and you're like, oh shit, like like how Andy Warhol said, like everyone has like their 15 minutes of fame.
Yeah.
But in your case, I can imagine this like maybe 100 times like worse and like more extreme because like 30 million views is like very, very extreme. So Tell me about what happened when you uploaded that video, and how did it make you feel, and how do you feel about it now, like the aftermath of it?
So the thing with social media is every now and then some video kind of goes viral, like out of the blue. You don't expect it. It's probably not even your best video, right? So like, because this has kind of happened before, like last year, almost a year ago, there was a Bollywood actress that shared my video, and that made everyone go wild. Like suddenly, like newspapers and shit wanted to talk to me because, oh my god, how did it feel when this actress shared, like, we want to, we want to interview you for this, so it was like that's already kind of happened before. So I know, I also know, like, not to get caught up in that, because that definitely will die down when people get the next viral thing.
In that moment, everyone wants to be like involved in your life, and then when it dies down, like you don't hear from them anymore.
They're done. And so that's just how it's social media is, right? Like, you can't even like blame it anymore, because the best thing to do is sort of just get attuned to that, right? So I was kind of already ready for this time. What was different was, because it's happened before, I was like, okay, there's a lot of like praises, and suddenly everyone wants to be a friend and all that. That's fine. But this time I started getting like a lot of hate as well. um I don't know, what to like relate it to, but uh at the risk of offending people, I think it's because this time it catered a lot more to the North Indian audience. And it's just kind of like a fact. We know that there's a lot more, what do you say?
The culture is different. Like the culture is different in the north and in the south. Like the
Yeah,
south, I feel like people are more laid back, relaxed. In the north, they're more direct. Like they will say what they think, and it's the way that the south and the north are developed is just different. Like what they say about India as well, for those who don't know, is like literally every state is like a different country. They speak a different language. The culture is different, so you cannot
definitely.
really compare it to each other.
Definitely, yeah. So I started getting a lot of hate, and like, although I've been getting hate, being a creator, you always get hate. Everybody's always judging you. Everybody always has something to say about what you do.
Not everyone agrees with what you do.
Yeah, exactly. And that's just how it is. So that's the only different thing that I could like, sort of point out this time. But yeah, I mean, like, because I've kind of already been through this, it wasn't too overwhelming. Obviously, the thing is, when these numbers keep growing, you kind of get desensitized to it. So with this particular video, the numbers were like growing really fast. It was like 1 million 1 minute, and then it was like 5 million the next minute. So you just get desensitized to it. So every time you open, it's like a bigger number, and you're like, okay. Then you sort of start expecting, okay, oh, tomorrow it'll be like 31 million, whatever, like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, I got it.
Sort of get desensitized to it. It was
It's
just,
also the same idea with people like getting, let's say, a car or something like that. Like the first time you get like your car, you're like super excited, and it's
yeah,
your first car. And then the second time, even if you get like expensive car, it's like it's super nice, but it dies down. It's with shoes even. Like the
yeah.
first 3 months, you're like, oh my god, I cannot touch anything. Like don't touch anything that can make it sick. And now you just wear them like everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. The novelty
Humans are
dies.
very like they get used to things very
Yeah,
fast.
The basically the novelty dies down. Like, it's not something so, oh, shiny, or something so exciting anymore. But so yeah,
Yeah.
I've always tried not to like let the numbers get to me. So this doesn't like affect me too much, I guess,
And
thankfully.
what you said about like because you said like everyone wants to be your friend, I've experienced that as well. Like everyone wants to get involved with you at the moment that you are doing really well. How is that for you? Like how do you feel about that?
I don't know what it is. I feel like I might sound like I'm talking a lot of shit, but I've always sort of kept my distance anyway. Even before anything, I was, because of my dark ages, I became sort of like, I grew a shell around me. So I've always sort of like kept my distance, and tried to like see through people. So I've only just started to like socialize and make friends online, make actual friends with other creators and stuff. So, and I've started small, like locally, where I can actually meet them. Like now I have a lot more creator friends where I live. And so, I'm just starting out. So I've never believed really nice DMs or really nice comments, or stuff like that. I've always been the skeptic kind of. So I think that's what helps me a lot.
Yeah, but it's a very good thing actually, and I think it's good that you start like locally because in that way you can sort of expand. Yeah, my final question to you would be about social media. Where do you think social media and the internet in general is heading in, like, let's say the next 10, 20 years?
Bro, I don't even know where it's heading, like next month, bro. It's like changing so fast and all the time. Like I honestly don't know. And I'd rather not think about it because I think it'll give me a lot of anxiety. Because damn, like I don't know what's gonna happen to it tomorrow, because so many things are happening all the time. Before you know it, like suddenly we're in the metaverse and shit like that. I don't even know anything about the metaverse yet, but it's already here and it's happening. So it's
It is
scary,
happening.
but also I try to look at it in a good way. I kind of keep playing Gary Vee in my head as much as I can, because he's always for this shit, right? It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, dude, like put all
Yeah,
your
yeah,
money in
literally.
this.
He's always like 1 year in front of everyone, basically.
Yeah, like the internet's where it's at. So I don't know. Like I'm for now I'm just going with the flow. I just started creating content for myself. I just started like monetizing, doing this as a living. So I'm just enjoying
Yeah.
that right now. I'm enjoying being in the space and exploring all my opportunities right now. So I'm not the 5-year
Yep.
plan kind of gal. I don't like to think too far ahead, because anything can change. I think that's what the pandemic has taught all of us. Anything can change overnight. So yeah, I just try to go with the flow.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Honestly, like it's yeah, what you're saying. Like it's changing so fast that we don't have control over it anyway, so it's better to just like go with the flow and see what happens. Hey,
Yeah.
thank you so much for your time and thank you for
Thank
being on
you.
the podcast.
Thank
And
you.
I will see you.
See
Bye.
you. Bye bye. If you want to see more episodes of The Paradox, please subscribe to the channel.